guys, and welcome to the But Mostly Disney podcast. I'm Tater. Our buddy Andrew is here live from South Carolina.
Hey everyone, hope everybody's having a good night.
And this week we have, I'm pretty excited. We've weathered a couple of surgeries and some bad health to get him here, but I'm really excited to have Moose Moran here. Who is it? Moran?
Moran, yep.
Moran, okay. Who we know from WWD Radio, which we just want to make sure we talk about constantly on the podcast. So anyway, Moose, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my real name's John, but everyone calls me Moose. My main business, Moonshot Moose, so everyone's used to just call me kind of Moose as my nickname, and it kind of stuck, so I kind of rolled with it for my internet kind of life persona here. But I live up in just outside Scranton, Pennsylvania, so many of you know that from all the fun stuff on The Office. A lot of that is real, by the way, so a lot of names and locations that they talk about, which is also fun. Full-time, I'm a teacher. I teach at a CTE school, so Career and Tech Ed. Not to bore you with all the tech jargon, but I teach computer networking and cybersecurity, and I also adjunct at our local Penn State campus up here, teaching cybersecurity as well. And like everyone else here, I'm an avid Disney guy. Everything Disney that I could take in, I will take it in.
And how often do you guys
having me?
No, thank you, man. We really appreciate you donating your time to us. It's busy, right? Life's busy. What how often do you guys go down to Disney? Do you guys go a lot?
Yeah, so the one downfall of being a teacher, I would say, aside from everyone says, "Oh, you get summers off," but then, on this flip coin, I get about 4 personal days a year to use. So a lot of our stuff happens kind of over the summer. So we tend to go out around 3 to 4 times a year, give or take, depending on the year. And that's also tied into, I would say, like Disney cruises as well, which we recently got into. We just went on the Wish last year. And then this November, we're actually going to be on the maiden voyage of the Disney Destiny. Ooh. So I'm excited to get some swag on that and then take it all in.
Oh, that'll be cool. Yeah, we have lamented because we started. So my wife's a public school teacher, and then my kids are in private school. So they had 2 different spring breaks. So when they were young, we'd take them out of school during my wife's spring break, because she, again, has 2 personal days, so it's tough for her to get away. And we would go do that. So, and then once the academics got more difficult, then we moved it to summer. So we're often there like on July 4th, just trying to pick the hottest day of the year.
The busiest day of the year.
Right. And make sure it's as crowded as is absolutely possible to get into it. So it's a little nuts. But I'm glad that we're not alone in feeling that pain.
No, not one bit.
So we're going to talk about collecting Disney. And I have slides. Be patient, because I'm not 100% sure how all of this works. And as always, it makes really good audio, right? But I started thinking about it, and I was taking some pictures kind of, helter skelter around the house here. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, what is collecting, right? Like, what qualifies as collecting? So, if I run through, and I'm going to go first because I have a mouse that makes it do this stuff. But so like, these are and I'm sorry, it's not full screen. I'll see if I can make it work. Hey, all right, that's close. These are some of the things. We have a little table in the den. I don't do Funko Pops. I've been very careful not to get too involved in that. Little things here and there that we just happen to like, right? I do like the big Funkos. We were talking about Bob Gurr a little bit before the show. I've got both of these that I love. And I'm not an autograph guy, but these are both signed, and I think it's pretty cool. This is kind of the centerpiece of what I would consider my collection. And it's just a map from 1974, I think, of the park that a buddy of mine had in his storage and sent to me. And then I do love Jeremy Goff's stuff. And so I have this piece, which is really my favorite map of Disney of all times. If I were going to really like focus collect anything, I think it would be Disney maps. And then I have both of these that he made and I love. I think I bought my kids some. And then this is pretty cool. It's Dick Van Dyke's autograph. And he was supposed to come to a Comic-Con and for health reasons, really didn't make it. And so they asked us to pick a picture, and he signed it for us, which is pretty neat. And I have lots of little doodads, right, for lack of a better word. But is that really a collection? Maybe in the broadest sense of Disney terms. But what would you consider like collecting?
So I would consider collecting something that you display and something you seek out, and at least have more than one or two of. And I would say, because if you collect it and buy, but never display it, are you really collecting it or just kind of buying it to have it? Whereas collection, you want to display it. You want to show people, hey, when someone comes over your house for a barbecue, you want to show them how much you love Disney and how much it is all over your house.
Right.
And you want to show them that cool stuff. Like you mentioned that map, like you kind of can't see on my camera here, but I have that same map over on this wall. And then my back wall, I actually have opening day Epcot map that's framed out. And I have a couple other maps. There's one on the top. I have like the Vacation Kingdom Disney map, one of the original pamphlets they gave out. But again, when it comes to collecting, buy what you like. People ask me that all the time, like, what should I get that's valuable? And I'm like, it's not monetary value. Buy what you like and that you appreciate, because your personal connection to it is a lot more than money down the road.
Well, and that's, I feel like I decorate like my collectibles. Like I'm not really starting a collection, and I've really had to stop myself. For instance, because of you, from several years ago, I own a nice little package of postcards from 1972 that I bought because I think you'd posted them online. I'm like, oh, that's so cool, and I love them, but I haven't done anything with them. Right, like they're just sitting in the cellophane.
Yep.
And I want to see the front and the back. And I'm like, gosh, should I put them in glass frames so I can flip them over every now and again? But I've really, really tried, because I figure when we leave this house, our next one will be smaller. So I'm only buying things that'll fit in the lifeboat, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I'm gonna throw it out of the balloon because I need the ballast or the weight gone, then I'm not buying it anymore. I'm taking a nice picture and moving on.
So that e-ticket you had, was that the whole thing that Jeremy sold? It had the pamphlets and...
No, that was one. So Bob Gurr puts out some really cool stuff on his site, and it's in fact, Paul Gowder from powwows.com, and he's a Momentum guy. Really check him out. I mean, he's fascinating, but he's very much into Roosevelts and wears those. And I'm trying not to collect Roosevelt shirts, right? Like I just don't. Right, exactly. But it's so hard. But he actually, for Christmas, my wife got me a Bob Gurr shirt that's all of his schematics for his designs, for Space Mountain, for the monorail, and it's really cool. So both the one with his, I don't even know if I can go back to it now. The license plate, yeah, and the ticket book were just stuff that were on his website signed.
Well, like
he'll do a lot of cool
have to start rotating stuff. Because Jeremy had sold, he'd had on Facebook, it was like the Pan Am brochure, the e-ticket book was like exploded. I bought it. I have it sitting underneath my desk because I have no place to put it.
Right.
And I want to display it, but I've got two walls of Star Wars, and then I have what I call my wall of golf with all my stuff I bought from him in front of me. It's just like, now, do I have too much? Do I need to start rotating stuff out and selling stuff and putting stuff up? It's just, I find something, I buy it, but, now is it too much? Is it too little? Like, Lou gives me trouble because the poster over this shoulder, not the Empire Strikes Back, but the other Star Wars poster is from the first Disney sequel. And he's like, why do you have it up there? And I'm like, somebody gave it to me. I put it on the wall. Yeah, stuff, you put it up.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is I want stuff like I love photographs, right? Like if I truly collect anything, it's photographs, and I actually look at them. And I know a lot of folks don't, right? But my wife and I will sit on a Saturday morning, get coffee. I'll sit in front of the computer in the bedroom and just slideshow for a couple hours. I know not everyone does that. And then we have little Google frames all over the house that play photos. So I love my photos. If there was a fire, that's what I would grab, is my hard drives with my photos on them. But it is kind of like, what's the lady, Marie Kondo or whatever, It doesn't bring you joy. But my problem is there's so many things that bring me joy. I could never follow.
My whole room brings me joy.
And I find like the other part of it is I kind of like to archive a lot of the older stuff. Anything that I get, old brochures, old tickets, I have a really nice scanner, and I'll scan, digitize, and save it for references. So if I ever need to research something, I could pull up old brochures, old maps, things like that. There's actually a couple Clubhouse members who every once in a while send me a box of updated maps, and I'll scan them in. And one guy sent me his from like the 90s all the way back. He's like, "Hey, we're clearing out. Do you want this stuff?" He goes, "I see you post about it all the time." And I said, I love it. It was all Disney magazines from the 90s and Pleasure Island brochures, Discovery Island brochures, all that old kind of stuff from early kind of Disney too.
It's just there's so many. I was last week. I was in Disney, and we stopped by that new Recycle the Magic place, which really did have some amazing stuff, but it was pretty pricey, and not that it shouldn't be. I'm not saying overpriced. It was just a lot of money. And I think last week I said it. The one thing that I wanted more than anything on there was this Reedy Creek Electric flag that had Mickey throwing light bulbs like Ready Kilowatt. Oh. And it was really cool, but like $600. I'm like, do I really need a $600 flag to go on wall space I don't have, right? Mm-hmm. And that's and I saw Matthew said, and if you're not listening to Married to a Disney Addict podcast, it's much better than ours. We love it. Popcorn buckets and pins. It's the same thing. Some Bob Gurr stuff like we have, and Lisa Donato Glasser pictures, which I'm trying also very, very hard not to collect because she's putting out.
Yeah.
I have one that I won at Momentum that I need to get framed. It's sitting. It's not getting ruined, but I need to get it done. And so not to reiterate completely what we did last week, but the same thing with pins. I've worked very hard not to become a pin collector. Mm-hmm. There's some really special ones that I've gotten at like a media event or something, and I'll keep those. And we get one pin for each kid each year to kind of what most people do with pins, I do with coffee mugs, right? Those are my coffee mugs are my pins. And that was another question I had for you as I was thinking about this. If you use your collection, is it still collecting?
Yeah, I would say so. A lot of the stuff I do get, I don't buy from like Disney Direct or offline. I'll go to antique co-ops, I'll go to thrift stores, and I've actually over the years found a lot of cool Disney stuff from locations like that. And it's neat to see what you could find. I always dig through their old postcards looking for Disney postcards. A couple of years ago, I bought a whole Kodak slide set from the 70s, and it was a family's trip, and most of the slides were old Adventureland from like 72.
Oh, nice.
So I digitized all those and actually made them into a YouTube video. So on my Moonshot Moose YouTube page, you could just go and there's a digitized video of all the slides, minus the ones that had the guy's family in it, but a lot of the park ones. And it was neat to see all the old. A lot of it was Jungle Cruise stuff, which was neat. And I feel like you could use it because a lot of people I know collect Disney mugs. A lot of Disney mug people out there, and they will fight you if you say that Disney mugs are not collectible.
Right. No, and I have a solid collection to the point that I'm also almost excluding all other ones. But it kind of marks our travel, right? We buy an ornament every year to mark our trip. We buy a magnet. Now that I'll do a lot. Like I want to make sure I have all the hotels we stay in, so we do get magnets and stuff for our travels, but I have one side of the fridge that's Disney and one side that's regular travel. So they don't get in arguments over.
You don't want that happening.
Right. Who gets the last sip of milk or something. And so I say I don't collect all this stuff and then I have it all. And Matthew brought up Funko Pops. Same thing. I could buy those. I love them. I just think they're so neat. I like them in the box. I like them out of the box. I want them everywhere. But I've just tried really hard not to do it. And look, if I'd kept all my Star Wars toys, I'd be a millionaire, right? Yeah. If I'd kept that Zorro watch with its box, I wouldn't have to to go into work anymore. But I guess that's true. I guess as long as it's something like you're saying, I have several of them. It's something I actively hunt down.
Because if you could passively just buy up stuff just because, like, oh, Disney released this, I have to get it. There's a certain fine line between, okay, am I just hoarding stuff or am I actually collecting it with a purpose? And I feel like those pins and Funko Pops are slippery slopes for me because, like you said, if I start buying some cool ones, I'm going to go all in and
right.
come home with a ton of stuff. But like I feel like nostalgia is a big tie-in as well. One thing I collect is old Davy Crockett stuff, like old Disney Davy Crockett stuff, and I just remember as a child when the Disney Vault would open up at night. One of the things I would watch with my dad would be the old Davy Crockett because he watched it growing up. So it's kind of like that generational connection. Like, okay, why do you collect Davy Crockett? That hasn't been a thing for years. It's like, well, to me, when I think Disney, for some reason, I think Davy Crockett because when I talked to my father growing up, what he liked from Disney was Davy Crockett.
That's funny, and I love Davy Crockett's in my top 5 movies of all time. Like I could watch that literally back to back. I could play it, it could end, I could watch it again. I could do the long version with Indian Fighter and everything, and then Mike Fink, and then go back to it again. Yeah. I mean, I bet I watch it twice a month. I really do.
And I think people don't understand how big at the time Davy Crockett was. Like during like that era of like 50s, early 60s, like Fess Parker was the guy. He went from being Davy Crockett to Daniel Boone, but Davy Crockett pandemonium took over. Like you could find Davy Crockett wallets, cups, toy chests, like everything at the time was, hey, I wanted to be a cowboy. I want to be a frontiersman when I grow up. And Davy Crockett was that guy. And they tuned in and sat in front of their TV and watched when Disney released, because they originally released it in episode form.
Right.
So you would sit down. I remember my dad said I'd sit down on the black and white TV. He said with his grandfather at the time and wait for the Davy Crockett to come on. And they'd all kind of line up and watch it and wait for the next week's episode. Especially that, like you said, with Zorro, with Guy Williams on that.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So I have some Texas John Slaughter pictures. And people are like, oh, what is that? I'm like, you don't know Disney if you don't know who Texas John Slaughter is.
It's so funny.
I've always been a big advocate of having some sort of, I know it's dated, but Davy Crockett present. Like the only thing we have, I think, left at Disney World is Davy Crockett's Tavern, right? And Fort Wilderness. I think, or else, so everything else from the park has already been kind of is gone, and I feel like that's kind of like the last hurrah, sort of say, of Davy Crockett at Disney parks when it was such a big thing. And I always feel like that it was such a great IP.
My kids don't love it, but my daughter does have a coonskin cap that she got at Disney one year. Like so there's I've brainwashed them enough to love that, because that's really even more so than the cartoons. Like right now, and I meant to do like a social media series about it, but I don't always think like a content creator. I forget that I should post some of this stuff, but I just started, and I'll do it again. It won't hurt my feelings, but going back from all the live actions from like 74 and earlier, because those are the ones I love. Like Dean Jones is probably my favorite Disney actor. I just love him. You know, he to me seems like somebody Walt really would have enjoyed. I don't know. There's some connection there that I love, and he just reminds me of old Disney. And that's why I love people I know it's a hot topic, the Walt animatronic, and I get it and respect it, but anything I can do to get younger people to feel like I do about some of the older stuff. And that's the great thing about having Caleb on. Caleb knows stuff about Disney that I don't know, right? Yeah. You know, there's some of the newer, the 90s stuff I just didn't see, right? It wasn't mine. And so it's cool to have, there are some different levels of perspective on Disney history and what it is that are pretty cool.
And I feel like that's a big thing now with the parks. We're going through a lot of big changes, like Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island going away for cars. And a lot of people get upset over it. But at the same time, my 5-year-old is thrilled that he could go on car stuff. And when people say, well, aren't you upset? I'm like, no, it's his turn. Like I had my turn. I had my enjoyment out of it. And I said, is he going to have more fun on Tom Sawyer Island or the Rivers of America Steamboat, or off-roading in some cars that he plays with and dreams about anyways? I said, it's his turn for some magic.
And I love that logic. Somebody asked me something like, I work at a music venue, and some of the music I've seen, I really hate. But I mean, I saw Travis Scott before he was big. I mean, he was in our place. We hold 1,500 people, and my kids are like, you know, because I'm old, man. I'm irrelevant. This isn't my world anymore. You know, it's the kids' world. I am very excited about the Cars ride. I really am, and I think it's probably the right move. And if I think the Country Bear Jamboree is the best update I think they've done. Like, I think it pays homage to what I knew as a kid. I see the old Country Bear Jamboree in it, but
Mhm.
it makes it more relevant to a newer people. And maybe that's spoon feeding, maybe it's not, maybe
No,
how
you're
we
right.
consume things.
You're right, because I would have to drag my kids in to see Country Bears because it's one of my favorite things. But now when we go to it, they're singing, and I'm the one sitting there going, "What is this?" But
Mhm.
they're enjoying it, and I can still see the old stuff with Buff and all that. That's still there, but the songs are all geared to them. So,
Right.
like you say, it's their turn to enjoy it.
And I feel like that's the biggest thing that people don't realize is like, oh, that why are we changing? Change isn't good. Well, change is good. It improves things. And then also, years from now, my son's going to be like, you know what? He's going to be telling his kids, my dad and I used to go on this Cars ride that was here, and it was the
Yeah.
best thing that like we had memories on it, we had photos on it, like off road in cars. And who knows what it's going to be 30 years down the road? But right now, like he's super excited for it to happen. He asks me all the time, "Hey, do they have that Cars thing yet?" And I was like, "No, not yet, buddy." And he's like, "Okay, okay." And then he just plays with his little cars and pretends that it's at Disney World. And
Hey, look
Now,
at Test Track. They're on the third change of Test Track, and they just
right.
started running cars today.
And I've liked all of them. I thought the
Yeah.
Tronny version was fun. I thought the old version was fun. I mean, I've had a good time on both of them. So
Yeah. Like
it
Walt
is
said, if you keep it the same, it becomes a museum.
right.
yep,
Now, I do, in my head, it would be kind of cool to have not necessarily California, but to have a museum when some of these things that we love are going away where they could still exist. So you could go back and touch it the way it was. But like, again, that Brian guy, the Imagineer on Lou's podcast said, I don't like to play the What Would Walt Do game because I think he would have gotten rid of everything by now. He was not sentimental about his creations at all.
no,
He got rid of them. But so the interesting thing, I would have never had the vision for Pandora, right? Like I would have never put that there. If I'd have been in that meeting, I would have fought against it. I was like, these movies are not going to stand the test of time, and then you have this amazing land that everyone rope drops to get to, and it's beautiful. And I just took my 73-year-old mom there and she was just staring like, how did they do this? This is incredible. But Cars, I think will go on forever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like the Pandora you said too. I feel like my wife hasn't seen the movies like Avatar, and then we
Mine
went to
either.
Pandora, and she's like, you know what? Maybe I should watch this now because it's like the place was that good that it makes you want to watch the movie. It wasn't the other way around where the movie was so good they put it in the parks. It was
Right.
almost like vice
Yeah,
versa. Like,
that's my wife's favorite ride, and she has no want to see the movies.
Isn't
But
that
when we go,
funny?
we have to go do that. Yeah.
yep. And my kids they love the Navi's River Journey. They
Yeah.
ask all the
Mhm.
time, like, when can we go on that? When can we go on the boat ride in Animal Kingdom? And that's like the first thing they want to do is the Navi River Journey because they just love it. It takes them somewhere else, and that's what some of those rides do. People don't realize like, oh, it doesn't have the story, it doesn't have this. Oh, it doesn't need to be. It just makes you feel like you're somewhere else for the time being.
So Matt says he has a vest for his pins that he walks around in like a fisherman jacket, and that's pretty. Again, I don't judge, but it's like holy moly, So thinking about collecting, and this would have to fall into the using category, but my kids, we went looking for those cars, those, metal, they took over I had Matchbox when I was a kid and then Hot Wheels. And now these cars, and I still see them and I'm sad. And just to give my girls some props, they did My Little Ponies. We hunted for those, but it wasn't always the having, it was the getting, right? Like the being at Toys R Us at the right time and getting a shipment coming in, or if you're looking for something else, being in the right thrift store, or the right card shop. Like how important is the hunt to collecting, right?
I feel like the hunt is a big part, and I like almost like you're digging for gold almost when you find something. You're like, okay, I'm gonna look through all this other stuff to see if I could find the hidden gem that's potentially here. And then the part I like is sharing it. Like I find something cool, I like sharing it with like-minded people. That like, oh, that is pretty neat. Because I bring it home, my wife's like, okay, what's that? And then and then I'm like, okay, I'm like, there's people on the other side of this screen that are gonna appreciate this. And I feel
So
like there's that kind of fine line, like you said, like the thrill of the hunt of getting it and tracking it down.
Right. And I miss that. I mean, we have all the cars and they're beat up and dinged because we played and played and played with them as you should, just like I did my cars and my Star Wars stuff and all that. But I miss looking for that stuff. I miss having those missions, for Christmas. And Dad, I got to have the blue Dynaco version and it doesn't exist. And I got to go up to, DC to go to some show to find I went to some great lengths to make some Christmas magic happen for my kids. And I loved every second of it. Right. It wasn't spoiling them. It was a $5 gift,
Yeah.
but the getting was so important. Do you, when you collect things, you buy things that give you joy. Do you think about the financial part of it? Is that,
Um,
and not so much what you spend, but what you might get on a return?
well, I guess it inadvertently ties into that nostalgia factor. I'm trying to find older things, things that aren't quite mass produced per se. So a lot of times that does tie into it. Um, and there have been times where I paid up for things that I want, especially when it comes to some like cards and limited things that just there aren't many of.
Right.
But it's like that certain piece of the puzzle that you need. But financially, like I keep more than I sell.
Yeah. Okay.
when it comes to Disney stuff. And sure, long term, um, this stuff, some of it might have to go and find a new home. And sure, I could probably make some money back on it, especially if you're going like antiquing, thrifting. You're not paying a lot for this stuff. Like I'm picking up Disney mugs for 50 cents a dollar, like Disney
Right.
Park mugs. And I feel like if you're hunting stuff for financial gain, sure, there's people that do that. Sure, you get the limited Funko drops. You're getting limited pins and you're flipping them, and that's what you do. You collect, and that's your passion. Is doing that. But from my standpoint, I just kind of stick with what I like, and I kind of separate it from the business aspect of kind of what I do. Because like with sports cards and stuff, a lot of that I buy to resell. But when it comes to Disney stuff, a lot of it I'm just buy that makes me happy.
Yeah, and so we can certainly talk about sports stuff. I don't know a lot about it. But I mean, it's, I know I had an entire set of like 1984 Topps cards, like a complete set that I carried around in a box for a long time. And then I also had like Star Wars cards and Grease cards. I mean, I had there was some weird stuff in the late 70s, early 80s for us to collect. But they're gone. I have no idea where they are. And I wasn't a huge baseball fan, so I didn't keep them. But when you go out for sports stuff, I mean, you are thinking dollars and cents there, or
Yeah, because I have cards that I think my most expensive card will probably go for almost $4,000 or $5,000. So they're significant investments.
Well,
Like when you have to get an insurance policy for it, like I have for like my sports card collection, um, then it kind of ties into it. Like I even have like a file on my computer for my wife that says if I get hit by a bus, here's what to do with the sports cards.
the place
So
a
you don't
sports
like
card.
just sell them at a garage sale. And I see them more as investments. Like I don't invest in stocks. I don't invest in stuff like that. But some of the best investments over the last 15, 20 years, for example, some of the big guys collect, like, say, Mickey Mantle's rookie card. One was sold, I want to say, in the early 90s. He paid like $90,000 for it, and it just sold at auction for almost, I want to say, $4 or $5 million. And
wow.
the hobby's strong right now. Like the hobby for stuff is strong, and especially sports cards. A lot of the sports card stuff I collect, I don't collect much newer stuff. I like vintage, like that older stuff. So I collect a lot of cards from the number one player I collect is Napoleon Lajoie, and he played with like Ty Cobb and all that in the turn of the century. And I have one of his largest collections.
Oh wow.
And then just sets, like I have an entire 1953 top set, which was like second year Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays. I have Willie Mays' entire top sports card run. So from his rookie year in 52 to his last card in 73.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I have 67 top set, which is Tom Seaver's rookie card, Rod Carew's rookie card. I just kind of I like the old stuff, and that's what I originally turned into a business. So for those that don't know, on the other side of this, I run a monthly sports card show up here in Pennsylvania, and most of you probably see them popping up all over. But between sports cards and Pokemon right now, the people that are getting back into that, it's just been huge.
So I pulled a bunch of stuff out of the attic, and my daughter wanted to see my baseball cards. And I didn't realize I did this. I had this one little cardboard box full of cards. I thought to one day they were going, because I collected all stuff from the 80s. That's when I was a kid watching baseball. And I was like, why did I have this Barry Bonds card it's a Pirates card? Why did I have it in the sleeve? I started looking, and if You gotta find somebody to buy it. But if it's correct, it's a $2,000 baseball card.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And a couple other. I got a Derek Jeter rookie card. I don't know how much that thing's worth, but because we had a local minor league team here that was part of Yankees at one time, they would give out rookie cards for the players that were playing here, and he was one of them at one time. So I have no clue, but I'm sure Moose said she's got to find somebody to pay for it.
Yep.
You know, it's just like anything. You might got it, you might think it's worth it, but somebody's going to pay for it. So I've got cards. I don't even know if they're what's worth what. You know, when McGuire had his home run, this couple of years with the home runs, anything they sold of his, I bought. I got a lunchbox of his and some cards.
They did everything. They did stuffed animals. They did Mark McGuire Halloween costumes. They did it all
kinds of stuff. And then like Beanie Babies were popular. I've got the whole Murderer's Row of Beanie Babies.
Oh,
They're
nice.
all beers. But like collecting is anything. My wife tells me, she's like, "You got so much stuff." But if I like it, I'm gonna buy it. One thing I've always wanted to talk about, stuff that do we have a limit on spending? At one time, they made these Haunted Mansion puzzle boxes. I'm sure y'all have seen them on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
They go for $300 or $400, and I almost bought one. But I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this thing? I'm not going to take it out of the box. I'm just going to stick it on the shelf, spend $400 to stick it on the shelf. So I had to limit myself on certain things. Now it's when we go to Disney. It's what my daughter, she buys. My youngest daughter gets a lot of stuff, and I try not to. I'm put my hands in my pockets and like, oh, coffee mug, I'll get one of those.
Well, I worry it'll end up like, and this is not collecting, but I think about my kids, all the things they begged me for. And I've got a picture of my oldest daughter in my arms on the ferry leaving, just sobbing because I didn't buy this Minnie Mouse dress that she really wanted, and yes, there's a temporary joy for stuff like that. And then what lasts forever? What am I going to save? My son's become now what he does love, he loves, but he's become kind of a minimalist in that, he's not keeping things. And, of course he's in college, so he doesn't have much to travel. I should send you, my little brother, played for the Marlins. He played minor league ball, got drafted out of college. But Mark Reynolds, who was I think he was the third baseman for the Diamondbacks, but I just found it. I have his bobblehead, but from with his high school uniform that they did for something, and I'm like, what? I don't care,
Real quick,
I know the guy. I played golf with him, and I don't want this bobblehead. I don't know what to do with it. I'll mail it to you, Moose. Give me your address.
So one quick signature story. My daughter was for a local team. She was the mascot wrangler one season. And she called me from the dugout, and she's like quiet. She's like, Dad, I don't know what this is, but there's this man in the dugout, and all these kids are like, yes, sir, no, sir, asking for batting tips, blah, blah, blah. And she said, I'll call you right back. She's got the phone call right back. And I said, well, who is it? She goes, you ever heard anybody named Reggie Jackson? I went, find the ball, get a pin, hurry up.
Yeah. Mr. October himself.
Yeah, she's like, he was the nicest can be, and she said, did you just call your dad? She's like, yeah, I told him who was standing in front of me, and he about freaked out on the phone. But, I have that story to go with that ball. So there's always, some stuff are tied together. Mm-hmm. Friend of my dad grew up with Gorman Thomas, and he used to come to the dealership my dad worked at. And I knew him, for a little bit, and I got him to sign his rookie card. He said, how much did you pay for this? I was like, I think I paid $5 for it. He pulled $5 out of his pocket, handed it to me, and goes, man, don't pay for my stuff. It's just, you have things that tie to memories that you collect, and then you just have stuff like, I want to get my kids anything and everything they want. We're going to trips, but then you come home and like 3 months later, it's sitting in the bottom of the closet, and it's just like, now it's, let's make memories. Let's not buy stuff. So.
Right. So like, okay. So Andrew sent in, and again, this doesn't look super professional, but this is, cause I asked a couple of folks if they wanted to send in what their, collections was, and he's collecting those shoulder, holders.
Oh, nice.
So, I thought I had it going right. I'm really good at this. Maybe I'm going the wrong way. Well, that's
is Andrew Prince here tonight?
He's in there.
Okay.
And so I think he said he had about 16 of them.
Wow.
We have the Orange Bird one. And so he collects those, which is great, right? Because those, it seems like, you might not even use as much, but enough to really,
Oh yeah.
collect and have as your own. And then Karen wins here. So like she sent in some slides and, all right, that's not a great one.
See a
Somehow.
Pinocchio hand puppet.
Yeah, let's see what I did here. I had some trouble earlier because she had a lot of cool stuff. All right, let me see if I'll put it back so if anyone actually watches this, that it won't look too bad. I'll figure it out off the screen. But she sent in a bunch of slides and has some really, really cool stuff. But I wonder if I screwed it up. I may have. Darn it.
Like I'm really excited about something I just sent out. So about a year or so ago, I actually sent a letter to Bob Gurr because I actually bought at one point. He designed 2 car books. So there's 2 books that Bob Gurr illustrated and put together in the 50s that were futuristic car designs. And I happened to come across one of them and I picked it up and I wrote him a letter and I said, I have this. I'm a big fan. I talked about Disney a lot, probably more than I should have. And I said, if I send you this, would you be willing to sign it for me? And he sent me a letter back and said, sure thing. He said, send it out. Here's the address again to send it out. And so I just recently boxed it up, sent it out to him, and he's going to sign it. And he said that he goes, I probably never signed one of those like after the fact because his name's on it. But it's not Bob Gurr because it wasn't Bob Gurr. I think it was like R.H. Gurr or something like that. Like how he signed originally.
Oh.
But some of the books alone are like $300 or $400 just for his car design book. But it's a cool book, and I sent it out to him because a couple years ago I went through this huge kind of binge of snail mail, and I was like, let me write letters to some of these guys. I said, who cares who writes me back and who doesn't? I said, I just want to tell them that I appreciate them and all this. So I heard back from Bob Gurr. He sent me back a signed postcard from early Disneyland, which was pretty cool. And then the late Raleigh Crump, him and his wife actually wrote me a really nice letter back. And I sent out like a questionnaire, like, what was your favorite ride? What was your favorite moment? And Raleigh Crump sent me some really nice stuff back. I posted that a while back in the Clubhouse if anyone wants to go back to the WW Radio archives.
Yeah, and if you're not following Moose on Facebook, you really should, because you post up a bunch of really cool stuff. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
lot of it, like I said, it's tied into the history of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, again, even though maybe the baseball cards aren't my thing, right? But I love looking at what you post, right?
Yeah,
all right,
I have everything in my basement here from Disney Snow Globes, and then over my display over there, I have signed baseballs. I have Ted Williams, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Duke Snyder, all across the top row.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the perfect blend down here. If you're a Disney fan or a sports fan, I kind of have like the mix of everything.
So let me ask you a question: Is it worth getting anything like baseball cards PSA certified?
So there's the big 3 companies. There's PSA, SGC, and then there's Beckett. Beckett, who had the booklet for years, like the price guide.
Yep.
Personally, I like SGC. They're down in Boca Raton, Florida. And I send a lot to them. They're mostly bigger with like a lot of vintage cards. I probably send them close because I handle a lot of bulk submissions for some friends and stuff too. And I probably send them close to 200-300 cards a month. I send it on to SGC to get graded, authenticated, especially when I'm trying to use a lot of it for inventory for card shows and my eBay store and everything like that.
Yeah, like I said, that Barry Bonds card, I got a couple other ones. I just would like to get them certified before I even think about trying to get rid of them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, feel free if you ever just need to message me, email me, whatever. I'll give you some advice.
Okay, thanks.
That's cool. Yeah, Jennifer says sometimes it's with the littles. She's right. It's less about the item and about the experience. Like, as much as my kids might not look at it, those autograph books we did for a couple years, it wasn't a forever thing, but I don't see them boxing that up and getting rid of them. That's something they'll keep forever as and a real tangible, collection, right? Like something like we were talking, I was talking about how Disneyland to me was really cool because I stepped where Walt stepped. And even though I know he was in Florida traipsing through the swamps a little bit. Like I can put myself in a picture, or, you know, I know you guys have a lot of history in Pennsylvania. You know, we have Yorktown here and we have Williamsburg here and Jamestown. I mean, I can go and stand like where Pocahontas was, right? I worked at a church camp in Surrey that was named after a Powhatan Indian kid. And I mean, they literally ran and swam right here, you know? So I love being able to touch that stuff. And I think that's why, like, if I had to pick one thing out of all the things, it probably would be that giant map, because I think about that started as a freebie in a park and was just sitting there and someone's taking it, you know, along for the ride. And I think about my kids when they were little, all they wanted was the maps, right?
Yep.
Like they just wanted to walk in, get their maps, hold them open, wander through the parks, guiding us. I mean, it's pretty cool. What's your favorite Disney thing you have that you've collected?
Oh, geez. So
Or
my
top
favorite
three. You can give us three. You don't have to.
So
We'll cheat like Lou does.
I have three favorite Disney things. So one of those three is a Muppet thing.
Okay.
So I would say in no particular order, I have an Epcot preview poster from the year before it opened, and you could only get it at the Magic Kingdom pop-up that they did, where you could walk through the preview of what Epcot was going to be. I met a gentleman from New Jersey who said, "Hey, you like Disney? I was at Disney in the 80s all the time, and we went this one time, and they gave us this poster for like this place called Epcot. It's been in my attic ever since. Do you want it?" I was like, yeah. So I have that framed, and my wife approved that. That's for that's in our living room. But it's like a really cool pre-Epcot like poster with Spaceship Earth and some like coming in 1982, like all that fun stuff. I would say one of my other top is I'm not sure if you guys ever remember these from your computer labs growing up, but Apple did a series of posters that said think different.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like different things. So right here, framed up on my wall here, I have Jim Henson's, and it's Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog, and it says "Think Different," but it's like the old original 1980s Apple poster that came up. And I teach
That's
IT,
cool.
so
Right.
I have I have the Jackie Robinson one in my classroom, but here I tied into it's right above my desk. Oddly enough, I don't have a Walt Disney picture on my desk. I have Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog sitting right here.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I remember learning BASIC on those Apple computers in school. 4 days to make a dot go across the screen and change colors.
And then I would say would be one of my early Walt Disney World cards that I have. Well, Walt Disney, not Disney World, Disney cards that I have. I have like an early 1930s. It was the first appearance of Walt and Mickey on a card together, a trade card. And I have that, which is pretty cool. It's like a cool piece of history. It was sold in cigarette packs in the UK. It wasn't even sold in America because at the time America loved baseball. So you could buy baseball gum bubble gum and all that and get baseball cards. But over in the UK at the time, cards would come in cigarette packs. So that's where. So I have like a Walt Disney card that's from across the pond that way.
Yeah, those Disney cards you post are cool. Like I'm trying really hard not to start some collection, but it's so cool to look at. It's just fun. I mean, I enjoyed the baseball cards. Like I don't have to love something to really appreciate it. You know what I mean? I just think it's cool. I got a few of Karen's. Karen sent me like 40 pictures and they're all awesome.
I think that's the Donald Duck Bank.
Yeah. Or she'll tell you, I hope she's still here. But some magic, and I had them oriented earlier. I'm not great at this. My buddy, the same guy who sent me that map, is sending me some ticket books. I think they're all used, but his ticket books from when he was a kid. Nice.
Oh, the TV tray.
Yep. Yeah, they had some cool stuff at that Recycle the Magic. And with my mom having her with me, there were like 4 things that she'd had as a kid.
There's one of the postcard books.
Right. Isn't that awesome? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should buy, but I mean, look, she's got a solid cabinet.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty good. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think those little bottom things, aren't those the machine they have? Have you seen that? Like it's a
wax figures.
Yeah.
So those
Yeah.
are the plastic. I think a company called Marks made those.
Yeah, exactly.
And they made them in different colors, different molds.
And you put your coin in and it whirs around and then comes out the bottom. It's pretty wild. It's cool because this stuff just ends up, like you say, it just gives us a lot of joy to do, to have this stuff in our house. I mean, I like walking down the hallway where that map sits. Is on one side, it's all my family pictures, grandparents, great grandmother, or a couple of old oil paintings, and then stuff of us, and then Disney on the other side. So every time I go to bed, it's a nice travel down memory lane.
One thing when I first started collecting, my mom goes to estate sales and all little shops. This little book right here, let me get it over to the camera. Mickey
nice.
Mouse and the Bat Bandit is from 1935.
Wow.
The Big Little Book.
Yes. And I've had this thing forever, and I'll never get rid of it. I'll will it to one of my girls. But it's just an old school comic book. And it's got, pictures and everything.
That's
that
wild.
And my other non-Disney collectible I have that I'll will to somebody is I have a signed Sandy Koufax ball.
Nice.
Wow.
I love it. That's the first signature I ever got was his in an auction. And I won't say the amount, but it was a couple $100 down in the ice. I'm not going to win it.
Cheap.
I'm not going to win it. And I did. And I was like, holy crap. I can't believe I just won this. But those are my two things. That book and that ball would be the two things that I'll always have.
That's really cool. She said I think that duck was a cereal container.
Huh.
Oh, jeez.
Is that right, Karen? Donald Duck was a cereal container?
It must be pretty big.
I'll put it back up because now I want to know. She'll tell us in a sec. That's what's great about the chat. If you're not coming on the during the week for the chat, did you see Lou popped in. He said hi.
Here's a good dad joke. Does it hold quackers?
That's so awesome. Yeah, I think my buddy, I was talking, I forget where I was, and I was sitting somewhere, and I was on the phone with a buddy of mine, and I was looking at something to buy, and he's like, just take a picture, Tater, and move on. He's like, you don't need it. Yeah, I know you want it, but if you just take a picture of it, it'll come back, and you can look at it. And then if you really want it, you'll find it later, which is, I try to be a little fatalist about it, because right now, trying to do all this stupid social media stuff, I need to get to the parks, and I'm not that much closer than you are. So, from Virginia, it takes a lot to get back and forth on a regular basis. But I think that map and Dick Van Dyke's, I don't do autographs. I would have bought those Bob Burr things, without autographs. I just thought they were cool. But having Dick Van Dyke's autograph is pretty cool. And I really would have liked to have. Yeah, that's so cool.
There's my Dick Van Dyke.
Nice.
That's really awesome.
Hanging on the wall over here.
I have a Bing Crosby picture, and I love Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. I mean, I was raised by my grandmother, so I have but I think it might be a real signature. And it was just sitting in a box, and there's a whole bunch of celebrities. And I looked through a couple of them, and my grandmother was saying that my granddad was a member of the Rotary Club, and he had a company, and a lot of times they do secretary signings. They do kind of
like auto pens and stuff.
Right, exactly. And so that's what I've always assumed it was, and I've just kind of had it sitting by my desk. And then one day I was bored, so I started looking up Bing Crosby autographs, and I'm like, oh, huh. I mean, it's definitely a pen. You can see it's written on the photograph. So I guess I should take that somewhere and figure out if it's real or not.
Send it to me.
All right.
Yeah, just send me a picture of it. I have an autograph guy.
Okay.
I'm like that guy that has a guy for everything. My wife always says.
That's right,
John. And if I don't have that guy, I have a guy who could find me a guy for that.
Now, does she love the collecting and going to Disney as much as you do? Is this y'all's thing, or?
She is. So she's a minimalist, kind of like you said. Your son is like, if she'll like a cool mug every once in a while, and like she loves those. What are like the long sleeve shirts that they have?
Spirit jerseys.
the spirit journeys, she likes those, but she's more about the travel portion of it than the bringing something home from it. Aside from that, she loves like the planning and all that goes into it. I just get to experience it and find the cool stuff. But she's very much like, that's cool, but put it somewhere where I don't have to look at it every day.
She might like,
My wife.
well, I'll try to be vague. Someone sent me a prototype for a board game called Diz Days. And I don't know if he's talked about it publicly or not. Cause I asked if he wanted to come on the show and talk about it. He's like, well, not yet. But it's basically a Disney planning game. And so it's a card game and you draw, and then you've got to plan out your perfect day. You got to get a hotel. You got to get 2 restaurants. You got to get 5 rides in, and it's pretty cool. At first when I read the directions, I'm like, well, and then we started playing it and having a good time. So for someone who misses the old style of planning our Disney trips, as they've changed it quite a bit, it kind of reminded me of the old school of getting my fast passes at 90 days out, my dining reservations at 6 months out and all that. It's a pretty fun little game. We had a good time playing it.
Now, Sean, a little piece of trivia for you. Since you like Bing Crosby, what Disney animation did Bing Crosby narrate?
Oh, well, Sleepy Hollow, right?
Yep, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
of all of them, right? Like, he's a big Christmas guy, and here they do. They say, you know what, you'll be good for Sleepy Hollow.
Right. Which is one of, now there's one my kids don't love, and I love that. I'll watch that 3 or 4 times. I know.
Yep.
I know.
Let me show you one more cool thing real fast. I'll
bring it on. I love it.
Up the side.
It makes great audio.
So I have here, so let's pull it up. So it might be backwards because the camera, you have the 3 Caballeros here, right? So this is a salesman sample. Try not to get the glare off my screen.
For Decca Records.
Sample of the Decca record for the 3 Caballeros from the 50s.
Cool.
So this would be like, geez, my former school superintendent from when I went to school reached out and he goes, hey, I know you buy and sell a lot of stuff. And he goes, we're cleaning out stuff from my late father. And he goes, he worked for Decca and would travel around and sell like the store's records. Like that's what he used to do at the time. Like, hey, buy our newest catalog of records. And he goes, do you want to look through them to see if there's anything you want before we kind of just let the family kind of have at them? And I said, sure. I said, I'll go through and let you know if there's anything valuable and, stuff like that. And he ended up giving me the whole Bing Crosby collection. And then I pulled out 2 Disney ones that were the salesman samples that I was fair with them. I didn't just take them. I said, hey, here's what they're worth. And I said, I'll give you that just to bring these home and put them in my Disney collection. So I got the 3 Caballeros, and then it was a narration of Snow White. And it's kind of like the old vinyls where people think of like the vinyls from like the 60s and 70s that had the flex to them. These are like the hard or almost like slate vinyls. Like if you hit them off the corner of the desk, they like shatter like in the movies. So I ended up getting that professionally framed and having that kind of done up. And then I have, let me see if I can just snag it off the wall here real fast. Because you said you like maps.
Well, and that's the cool thing, right? Like, I mean, I would frame that record even if it wasn't worth anything, right? Like that's something that to me would just look great on the wall, whether it was $1 or $100, which is why I asked about the value, like how much do the dollar and cents go into it? And I guess, like wine, you drink what you like, right? You buy what you want. I don't know art, but I know what I like. You know what I mean? So for the things for me that I love, I don't know that anyone else would ever want.
So here's a 1971. This was a pamphlet they gave out of the Disney property. So it's hard to tell with my glare, but it has numbers off onto the side where they map out each location with the key over here.
That's really cool.
They have some fun stuff like the Polynesian at the time. But yeah, that was 1971. 2,500 acres, what they said at the time.
That's pretty awesome. I just love that stuff. I mean, look, I think all of us want to be at the parks as much as we can. And it's a great way to sit at home in a snowy day when you're like, gosh, I wish I was sweating to death down there somewhere. And it's nice to be able to put that on. I mean, during COVID, we rode rides. We booked up YouTube video rides and sat there and did Soarin'. I mean, I think people who understand it get it at least, right?
Yep.
But I don't see any different in collecting Disney stuff and collecting football gear or baseball cards or anything else, right? I mean, it's history and it's interesting to us, right?
Mhm.
That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, and I have a whole, just even sitting here on my desk, I bought a whole Pirates of the Caribbean old postcard collection.
Mark
So they're
Davis.
all the old 70s. Disney did a release of Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. So they're all, it's hard to tell, but I'll send you better pictures. Oh, that might be upside down. That's why. But it's all Pirates of the Caribbean that you would get. So these are early 70s. You go to the parks and buy one of those booklets, but it was all Pirates of the Caribbean at the time.
That's so cool.
So I just have
That
that
is cool.
sitting here on my desk.
You know, when my grandmother passed away.
Dapper Dan's.
Oh, that's cool.
It's funny.
When my grandmother passed away, I just couldn't take everything, right? There was so much stuff. And I do end up feeling a little bit like a hoarder. Like, look, if I had a $4,000 baseball card, I would definitely sell that and take the $4,000. But if it's worth less, I'd almost rather like get it out to someone who truly appreciates it, right? Like skip the money. But if I have something that you love and I'm not using it, send me the shipping and I'll mail it to you. You can have it, right? So it's just, she had spoons. She had all these spoons from her travels. And I'm like, why didn't I take those? Those were so neat. And it's something most people don't collect anymore. And she had a nice wooden rack that they all went in. You know, gosh, why didn't I do that? So
And
There's
oddly
that
enough,
stuff laying around.
places still sell those too.
yeah, you still see them, right?
I got a stack
here
of
you
cards just sitting on my desk. It's just, I have stuff everywhere that I'm going through or collecting, and I need to get rid of.
Little Cincinnati red bobblehead
Oh,
right
yeah.
here.
Ah,
Which reminds me of the guy in front of Casey's corner.
Yeah,
But it's the
exactly.
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't he?
The old Cincinnati Reds. Yeah, I'm like a stockpile of Disney stuff. People are like, "Oh yeah, I used to have one of those," and I said, "You know what? I think I have one. I think I have one." I pull out one of my shelves, and I have a lot of that old stuff because, especially, I like old board games too. And at one point, Disney in the olden days released a board game for each land. So I have the Adventureland board game, Tomorrowland board game, the Fantasyland board game, and then which one did I miss? Frontierland, the Frontierland board game. So there's a series of 4 Disneyland board games that they kind of compiled from the Disney parks.
Wow.
We have the Monopoly one, and I do love that. Look, Justin's at the park right now collecting Disney merch.
There we go.
He's probably in World of Disney, ready
Spin.
to make 10,000 new patient friends.
Mobile checkout is your friend.
That's right. Moose, where does everybody find you? How do we
So if you want to follow, a lot of my sports stuff is on just my Moonshot Moose Facebook page and Instagram. I also have a little bit of a YouTube channel. Haven't done too much on there yet, but I'm going to be starting to grow that because people have been asking for footage from like the card shows and stuff that I get in, the history behind stuff. Also, you could find me a lot in the WW Radio Clubhouse. That's where I post a lot of my stuff. That's how most of us here met.
That's right. That's how
Yep.
all of us here met.
Yeah.
And I post a lot of my stuff in there and get some good conversations going. And that's really kind of my creative outlets right there.
It's cool. But don't you and you are starting up a podcast
Oh,
again?
yep. So next month, I'll be kicking off my podcast, which is the Moose's Antlered Adventures. It's not just Disney focused. It's just everyday kind of dad experiences, everything from life, family, work, Disney. But we also go camping each summer. I spend a lot of time. We go up at least every other year. We go up to Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, up that way, do hiking and stuff. So just kind of like a general life podcast for mostly dads and everyone else.
Right. Well, and that's why. So originally this was called U-Tater, which I thought was funny. YouTube U-Tater, because I've been called Tater. And then I realized not everyone knows that I'm called Tater. So it really didn't make a lot of sense to most folks. And then while that momentum, I bought the mostly Disney domain, and I don't understand. I try to understand the algorithms and how they work and keep things moving. And, I just did a tech review, and Chandler Boehner actually sent me. He's like, "Is this really you?" Because he moderates. He's like, "This doesn't seem like something you post," and I'm like, "Oh, that's why they tell you not to do that." So, but we do a bunch of stuff too. We go to the mountains. There's stuff around here. We have so much history. So I didn't want to limit all to Disney, and I don't want to have 9 different channels because I really can't even focus on the one I have. So. But yeah, so we have that. I do. And so if you're looking for me, I guess it's not hard to find. If you Google, but mostly Disney, I think that's me on everything now. And then Andrew, how's Mouse Gears going?
Good. The old truck I've been working on, I'm going to do a video this week of it. And then I got a car show in April at Charlotte Motor Speedway. There's probably going to be 4,000 cars there. So that's my deal. Disney and old cars and trucks. So
such a great name.
Hence the name. But yeah, some more stuff coming. I've got the cake bake video didn't work as well as I thought it was going to, so I didn't post it. But I think I got a bunch of shorts I'm going to post this week of just different stuff while we were there, different transportation. So, and then I'll be back down to Disney World. Spring break for us here in Charleston is the week of Easter. So my daughter and I, just the 2 of us, for the first time, we're going down. Nice. So we're might hit a water park since you get a ticket now to go to the water park on your entry day. We're going to try that. And then probably do some flower and garden reviews.
And Moose, you do travel stuff too, right? They can contact you for travel and stuff?
Yep. So if you're kind of based in the Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey area, that's mostly who we're kind of working with right now, but you can find me at Moran's Magical Travel LLC. We're working on revamping our website. You can find my wife and I on social media. We are partners with Disney, so we're official travel agents for Disney. We could help you get your trip down there. As Universal as well, we're Universal certified, accredited as well, and we're partnered with companies like Mears and everything like that to even get you from the airport to the parks as well.
Are you doing other stuff like cruises in Germany and Europe and all that kind of thing?
We don't do anything international yet.
Okay.
We try to stick to what we know. So
Sure.
we do Disney cruises as well, and we do Disneyland as well. So if anyone wants to go over there as well, the only thing we don't do airfare, but we can provide guidance on it. But we can help you with your reservations. We can help you with dining, getting tickets, doing all that in the parks, and all of that at no cost to you.
Yeah. And then if he can't help you go to Germany, you can give me a call and email me at Sean at MEI Mouse Fan Channel. But I'm equal opportunity. I want everybody to make money and have fun. Karen's doing travel too. You've got 3 solid options right here on the But Mostly Disney podcast. Well, Moose, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you being so generous with your time. I hope we didn't keep you longer than you wanted to be here.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It went by fast.
I know.
Tron speed.
I know. We could keep talking. Would not be hard. And anytime you want to come back, man. And I will. You just want a picture of that Bing Crosby?
Yeah. Just message it to me, and I'll have it checked out and everything for you. And if anyone ever has something they come across and you're not sure of, and you want more information, or like, oh hey, I picked this up, and I want to learn more about it, and you can't find it, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll gladly kind of help you out and research it.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, Karen and Caleb. Lou, I'm sure he's gone by now because he's already probably had 9 meetings that he had to do at night. Andrew, thanks, buddy, for sharing the pictures. And Matthew, I appreciate you swinging by as well. And I hope, and you know what? So Jonathan says it's the t-shirts. So many t-shirts. Like I literally have more closet space because I hang dries. James, what's up, buddy? How's it going, JD? I do collect shirts, and I collect those from everywhere, like where we go, to get something for a restaurant. And someday I'll probably make one of those quilts out of them because I'll wear them out. But I like my memories to move with me, so I keep them on my back, I guess. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you real soon.
Have a good night.
Take care, everybody.